Lesson 15 homework. Draw a place value disk on the place value chart to solve. Show each step in the standard algorithm. 7/10 divided by 4. So I'm going to start by drawing my 7/10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7/10, and then we're dividing by 4. So down below, I'm going to divide this into 4 different sections so that we can equally divide those 7/10 up. Okay, so if I take these 7/10 and split them equally among 4 different groups, I can only put 1 in each group. So I've used these 4. But there's not enough for me to take these 3/10 and put 1 in each. I would need 1 more. So I'm going to take these 3/10 and convert them to hundredths. Now 3/10 is equal to 30 hundredths because 1/10 is 10 hundredths. So 3/10 is 30 hundredths. So I'm going to draw 30 hundredths. Okay, now I need to take those 30 hundredths and divide them into 4 equal groups. So the closest I can get, 4 times 7 is 28. So the closest I can get to 30 would be 7 in each group. So 7 hundredths in each group. So if I've used 28 hundredths, that means I have 2 left of the 30 hundredths. So I need to take those to the thousandths place. So 2 hundredths into the thousandths would be 20 thousandths. And 20 thousandths split into 4 equal groups would be 5 in each group. And that works out evenly. We don't have any leftovers, no remainders, which means we're finished. So we should end up with, in each group, we have 1/10 and 7 hundredths and 5 thousandths. So we should get 175 thousandths. Let's see if that's what we get with the standard algorithm. So 4 can't go into 0, so we're going to have 0. 4 can go into 7 once. 1 times 4 is 4. We subtract. Now, since there's nothing to bring down, what we're going to do is add a 0. So add a placeholder as a 0 and bring the 0 down. So 4 goes into 30 7 times. 7 times 4 is 28. 30 minus 28 is 2. Again, we still have a remainder, so I'm going to add another 0 and bring that down. 4 goes into 25 times. 5 times 4 is 20. And yes, there is no remainder, so we're finished. The last step is to bring our decimal point straight up, and we get 175 thousandths, which is what we got using our place value chart. Part B, 8 and 1/10 divided by 5/10. So I'm going to draw my 8 ones and 1/10. And we need to divide that into 5 equal parts. So I'm going to make 5 sections. Okay, so the 8, I can split 8 divided by 5. I can only put 1 in each group evenly. So that means I'm going to have 3 left over, which translate into 30 tenths. So I need to draw 30 tenths. Go up here. Okay, so now we have 31 tenths because we need to add the 1/10 that was already there. So 31 tenths split into 5 equal groups. Let's see, the closest we can get, 5 times 7 would be 35, so that's a little too big. So 5 times 6 is 30, so we can put 6 in each group. And then we're going to have this 1 left over because we had 31, we used 30, so let's take that to the hundredths place. So we have 10 hundredths divided by 5. So 10 divided by 5, that's 2, which means we can evenly split. And there's no remainder, so we're finished. So in each group, let's just look at this bottom group. So we have 1, and there's 5 there, or no, there's 6. 62 hundredths, 1 and 62 hundredths. Let's see if that's what we get with the standard algorithm. 5 goes into 8 one time. 1 times 5 is 5. Subtract and get a 3, bring down the 1. 5 goes into 31 6 times. 5 times 6 is 30. We get 1 as a remainder, so we can add a 0, bring it down. 5 goes into 10 2 times. Okay, we got 0, so all I have to do is bring my decimal point up, and we get 1 and 62 hundredths. Okay, these we just get to solve using the standard algorithm. So 7 tenths divided by 2. 2 goes into 7 3 times. 3 times 2 is 6. We'll subtract. I have a remainder, so I'm going to add a 0 and bring it down. So 2 goes into 10 5 times. 5 times 2 is 10. Last step, bring the decimal point straight up. We get 35 hundredths. B, 3 and 9 tenths divided by 6. 3 goes in, 6 can't go into 3, so that's a 0. 6 goes into 39 6 times. 6 times 6 is 36. We get 3 as a remainder. Let's keep going. Add a 0. 6 goes into 30 5 times. 5 times 6 is 30. No remainder. Bring the decimal point up, and we get 65 hundredths. 9 divided by 4. 4 goes into 9 twice. 2 times 4 is 8. 1. Now, there's no decimal point here, but we can always add 1 at the end. So I'm going to add a decimal point, make it 9 and 0 tenths so that I can bring down the 0. 4 goes into 10 twice. 2 times 4 is 8. We get 2 left over. And add another 0. 4 goes into 20 5 times. So 5 times 4 is 20. Finally, no remainder. Last step is to bring the decimal point straight up. So it's 2 and 25 hundredths. 92 hundredths divided by 2. 2 can't go into 0, but 2 can go into 9 4 times. 4 times 2 is 8. We subtract. 9 minus 8 is 1. Bring down the 2. We get 12. 2 goes into 12 6 times. 6 times 2 is 12. No remainder. Bring the decimal point straight up, and 46 hundredths. 9 and 4 tenths divided by 4. 4 goes into 9 2 times. 2 times 4 is 8. We have 9 minus 8 is 1. Bring down the 4. 4 goes into 14 3 times. 3 times 4 is 12. We subtract and get 2. Add a 0, bring it down. 4 goes into 20 5 times. 5 times 4 is 20. No remainder. Bring up our decimal point. 2 and 35 hundredths. 91 divided by 8. 8 goes into 9 one time. 1 times 8 is 8. 9 minus 8 is 1. Bring down the 1. 8 goes into 11 one time. 1 times 8 is 8. Subtract, we get 3. Again, I'm going to add a decimal point and a 0 and make it 30. 8 goes into 30. Let's see, 8 times 4 is 32, so it can only go in 3 times. 8 times 3 is 24. If we subtract, we get 6. Bring down the 0, 60. 8 can go into 60. Well, 8 times 8 is 64, so that's too big. So 8 times 7. 8 times 7 is 56. 60 minus 56 is 4. I'll add another 0. Bring it down. 8 goes into 40 5 times. 8 times 5 is 40. Finally, we're finished. We have no remainder, so let's bring up the decimal point. 11 and 375 thousandths. A rope 8 7/10 meters long is cut into 5 equal pieces. How long is each piece? So it's being split evenly, which means we're dividing. So 8 7/10 divided by 5. 5 goes into 8 one time. 1 times 5 is 5. We subtract, get 3, bring down the 7. 5 goes into 37. Let's see, 5 times 7 is 35. So it can go in 7 times. Get a 2. Not done because we have a remainder. 5 goes into 20 4 times. 4 times 5 is 20. Now we're finished after we bring up the decimal point. So that says 1 74/100 meters would be how long each piece is. Yasmin bought 6 gallons of apple juice. After filling up 4 bottles of the same size with apple juice, she had 3/10 of a gallon of apple juice left. How many gallons of apple juice are in each container? Okay, well, she had 6/10. When she was done, there was 3/10 left. So in the 4 bottles total, there would be the difference between those two numbers. So I'm going to start by subtracting so we can see how much is in the bottles. So 6 minus 3/10. 0 minus 3, we can't do that. So I'll change that to a 5, and this is a 10. 10 minus 3 is 7. 5 minus 0 is 5. Bring the decimal point straight down. So there's 5 7/10 gallons in the 4 bottles. So now what we need to do is take that and split it evenly between the 4 bottles. So I'm going to do 5 7/10 divided by 4. 4 goes into 5 one time. 1 times 4 is 4. 5 minus 4 is 1. Bring down the 7. 4 goes into 17 4 times. 4 times 4 is 16. Subtract, I have 1 as a remainder. We don't want a remainder, so we're going to keep going. Add a 0. Bring it down. 4 goes into 10 twice. 2 times 4 is 8. We subtract, we get 2. Can't have a remainder, so we're going to bring down another 0. 4 goes into 20 5 times. 5 times 4 is 20. No remainder. Bring up the decimal point. So we get 1 425,000 gallons in each